On a snorkeling trip, the Miller family encounters a very strange scene underwater, an enormous pile of crabs that even their tour guide had never seen before. They had to know what was making these animals react this way. They needed to see what was underneath, but maybe they would have been better off leaving it alone. Using a piece of driftwood Father Eric had found, the Miller family was swatting away crabs by the bucket load so that they could get a look at what was underneath the pile. Their guide was watching from his boat with bated breath. He had a special feeling about this. When the Miller family had finally gotten most of the crabs away, it was Mother Bianca who first saw what had been underneath the pile. They swam to the surface as fast as they possibly could and made their way onto the boat. All they wanted to do was get out of here immediately. But what was hiding underneath the pile of crabs? Why did the Miller family want to get to it so badly, and how could the find have frightened them so much? But before we start our story, smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. When the Miller family arrived at their vacation destination of Aruba, they had waited for too long for this vacation because they needed some time to relax all together, away from the city. They arranged these holidays for a whole week so they could have plenty of time to have fun. But this week would turn out to go very differently. On the first day, they decided to spend all of their time at the beach, enjoying the water and the sun. On the second day, they decided to do their favorite holiday activity as a family, and they went snorkeling. It was a thing that they had done many times in the past, but this time it was all different. Snorkeling was the favorite activity of Miller's family, and they had seen some absolutely beautiful things over the years. But this year, the thing that they will discover at Aruba was going to top of all the other things. It was hard to believe that someone could ever discover something like that on his family trip. The ocean was beautiful. They started off by snorkeling some of the shallower waters, seeing small fishes, corals, and some crustaceans here and there. It was a truly beautiful ocean. After this, they wanted to explore some of the deeper and more rocky shores. They explore many oceans, so they were not so afraid of this one. On the ocean, the bottom was a lot more barren here, but it was close to the rocky walls, which offered many hidden places for exploration. This would be a great chance for them to see some different kinds of animals than usual, but they were not suspected that they going to find out something so special. Something was different on the ocean floor. When they arrived at this snorkeling site, the rocky walls were not what was drawing the most attention from the family, as there was something weird happening on the ocean floor, something not even the guide had seen before. They were so curious about what happened there, so they wanted to explore most of the ocean floor. She took a deep breath and she dove down a few meters to get a better look at what was happening, and then she saw what actually happened down there. It was not a rock she was looking at, it was a mountain of crabs. It was the first time in her life that she had seen so many crabs at the same spot. It was weird, and she was terrified. Lisa quickly swam back to the surface and told her family what she had seen. They didn't believe her at first, so Lisa suggested to them to swim up there so they would be able to see what she saw. So once they took a look, they had no doubts about it anymore. They were impressed too because they had never seen something like this too. This was something that even the guide they were with had never seen before. Of course, he saw multiple times crabs moving through here, but never this many, and especially not all cluttered up like this. He was really curious to know why these crabs were all together like this. After some minutes of thinking, he had a bright idea. At first, he had no idea what could be causing it, so after some minutes of thinking, he thought that there had to be something underneath. More crabs were still approaching to pile, so now the guys was sure that something underneath them was attracting them. The only question now was what there was under the crab mountain. The family speculated that it could be maybe a dead sea creature that was attracting all these shellfish's attention, but the guide could not think of anything living here that could be so big. It was kind of a mystery what happened under the pile, and the family was really curious to find out what happened down there. The guide advised the family as well to move on from that spot. He knew many places that could show them ideal for snorkeling. He had a very bad feeling about what could be down there, but he didn't want to show any sign of worry to those people. He wanted to find an easy and right way to find out what was under those crabs. he wanted to call the police. He was thinking that if there was anything dead down there that was big enough to cause this kind of reaction, he decided to call the police because he was considering that it was probably something the authorities needed to take a look at. He didn't want to be caught up in a situation like this. He was suggesting a lot of different spots, but the family was barely even listening to the man. They had no interest in living. They wanted to explore this specific spot. They thought that the mysterious pile was more interesting than the other spots in the ocean. So, it wasn't that easy to change their minds. Their curiosity had been piqued by whatever was happening down. They wanted to find out by themselves what was under the pile, but they had no idea how they were going to get a good look at it. So they were going to find a good plan for approaching the pile and find out what the crabs hide from them. After much deliberation, the guide decided to stay with the family. He needed the job and salary despite his reservations. He made them promise never to mention his name if they talked about the incident. Father Eric and his son Marco devised a plan. They searched for sticks on the shore to push away the crabs without getting too close. They soon returned with large driftwood, ready to tackle the crab pile. The guide assured them that crabs, being poor swimmers, wouldn't pose a threat. Working as a team, they began clearing the pile. Progress was slow, but they were determined to uncover what lay beneath. However, challenges arose as the driftwood frequently got stuck between rocks. Then, disasters struck the driftwood, broke, and drifted away. Faced with this setback, Marco and Eric returned to the shore in search of new driftwood, leaving the others to guard the pile. The search was tedious, and they debated what might be under the pile. Eric believed it was treasure, while Marco dismissed it as insignificant. They even made a bet over who would be right. Just as they were about to give up, they found a promising piece of driftwood. Meanwhile, Bianca and Lisa struggled to keep the crabs off the pile. With no tools, they felt powerless and returned to the boat to rest. When Eric and Marco finally returned, they regrouped and discussed their next move. Eric proposed a new strategy. He and Marco would remove the rocks, while Bianca and Lisa handled the crabs. Everyone agreed, hopeful this approach would finally unveil the mystery beneath the pile. After Eric's instruction, the family grabbed their scuba gear and dove back into the water. Though hesitant at first, fearing the driftwood might break again, Eric's reminder of their goal reignited their determination. Bianca and Lisa began clearing the crabs with enthusiasm, making significant progress in a short time. The crab pile was shrinking fast, and they felt proud of their work. However, the men faced greater challenges. The rocks they needed to move were much heavier than expected, and the strong underwater current slowed them down. Despite the setbacks, both teams persevered, taking short breaks to catch their breath. An hour into the task, they spotted something faintly visible on the ocean floor. Excited but unsure of what it was, Eric decided to dive deeper to investigate. As he reached out to touch the object, a sharp pain shot through his toe. A crab had bitten him. His injury forced Marco to dive in and bring him back to the boat for treatment. After ensuring Eric was fine, Bianca and Lisa resumed work, determined to uncover the mystery. Finally, with the last few crabs removed, Marco dove underwater again. This time, he managed to retrieve the object and swam back to the surface. The family returned to the boat, eager to see what they had uncovered. Their discovery left them speechless. It was a black box from an airplane. The guide, stunned by the find, urged them to report it to the authorities immediately. When Lisa asked what the black box was, he explained that it likely belonged to a plane that had crashed near Aruba years ago. The box had never been recovered, leaving many questions unanswered. At the police station, officers were astonished by the discovery. News of the black box spread quickly, and a senior officer, overwhelmed with emotion, thanked the family for their efforts. The box revealed critical information about the crash. An electrical failure had caused both the engine and backup generator to malfunction, leading to the pilot's failed attempt at an emergency water landing. That evening, the people of Aruba celebrated the Millers' incredible find. The family was honored with a ribbon and the key to the town in a heartfelt ceremony. Their story was featured on the front page of a prominent newspaper, making them local heroes. When the Millers returned home, they shared their extraordinary experience with friends and family, many of whom didn't believe them until they saw the newspaper. Inspired by their adventure, the Millers made it a tradition to visit Aruba every year. Each visit included a dive with the same guide, always in hopes of uncovering another hidden treasure.